Antagonist.
It's the grand finale!
Growing up, I've always been a fan of heroes, the main characters, the protagonists. They're the ones the story revolves around, the one who drives it forward and makes me want to strive for better. I've always loved heroes, so in turn, I kind of detest villains. Maybe detest is extreme, but I've never resonated with them. I mean, who would? What's cool about being the proverbial punching bag for the righteous good? To be some mustache-twirling jerk who ends up failing in the end? Sounds pretty lame. But then I got older, maybe more cynical. I realized there's more to villains than I thought. I started to see their appeal, maybe sympathize with their plight. I wanted to dig deeper into why that might be, and to start, I asked a simple question. What is a villain anyway?
As the sum total of all the obstacles that obstruct a character in the pursuit of their desires. They are the problem or obstacle the protagonist has to overcome.
Oh, yeah, I guess that works. Villains are the central opposing force to the hero. They stand as the inverse of everything the hero represents or hopes to achieve with villainous intent. And in that way, they hold just as much narrative importance as the hero. From thematic framing to plot progression, the villain carries a lot of weight. And they should, especially if you want them to feel imposing. After all, how can a hero truly be heroic unless they confront a great and powerful evil? But this concept feels, I don't know, incomplete. The pool of villains out there is enormous, but what about the baddies who aren't necessarily bad? Being at odds with the hero's perspective doesn't automatically make you a villain, does it? Well, that's where an important distinction comes in. The term villain speaks to villainous intent to do harm onto others, in most cases the other being the protagonist. The term antagonist speaks to a character who stands at odds with the goals of the protagonist. Someone, or even something, can be antagonistic without inherently being villainous. And a character can be villainous without being the antagonist. They often overlap, which is why people tend to talk about them as if they are synonymous, but we've seen plenty of examples throughout fiction where they take different forms. In some ways, antagonists can be more versatile than protagonists, while still holding much of that narrative weight. Understanding this changed my perspective. I've come across antagonists I actually admire, sometimes even find them more compelling than their counterparts. They can be more than just simple mustache-twirling villains, as I had previously thought. So maybe I don't have main character syndrome after all. Maybe I'm just in my villain era. Ugh, that felt gross to say. So, you know how this goes. Let's look at a few different types of antagonists, see what they bring to the table, and pick out our favorite. Man, I'm gonna miss this, since this might be the last one. Let's talk about antagonists. We interrupt this program to inform you of spoilers for the following series. Viewer discretion is advised. The devil antagonist. They're agents of chaos, those who exist simply to destroy. They wreak havoc whenever and wherever they can. Monsters that feed on suffering, preying on the weak and the strong. But that's just the sales pitch anyway. In normal people terms, they're assholes who like to cause trouble for the fuck of it. The kind of bully who will wait until you fall asleep during after school program and draw a dick on your face with permanent marker, which you don't notice until your mom picks you up from school, then pretend like they didn't do it even though I know it was you, Zachary. What was I saying? At first glance, they can feel one note, bland in terms of characterization. Take the Galactic Emperor himself, Frieza.
I'm the strongest in the universe! I'll reduce you and this entire planet to dust!
Cruel, sadistic, petty, and so much more. Frieza is one of those characters that knows they're evil and truly enjoys every second of it. I mean, the guy's main goal was to make himself immortal just so he can continue his already mostly successful mission of conquering the entire universe. Plus, he's like a mega racist. As far as your standard mustache twirling bad guy goes, he comes pretty close to being the poster boy. But dig a little deeper, there's something profound in their simplicity. Yes, Frieza is a petty, vindictive tyrant who gives certain people a run for their money, but beyond his shell of malice, he's also extraordinarily lazy. For most of his existence, Frieza was already the strongest one in the room. The thought of ever getting stronger outside of gaining immortality through the Dragon Balls never crossed his mind. Yet once he was revived after having his tail handed to him by the likes of Goku and Trunks, he begrudgingly began training. This presented Frieza with a shocking level of growth, not only in strength but in mindset. Sure, he still wants to be Space Hitler, but he also found a way to endure, maybe even enjoy, the process of improvement. Instead of seeking his habitual instant gratification and dreams of immortality, he learned a new path from his very enemy. Frieza, as a foil to Goku for hard work and good moral character, would turn that concept on its head. See what I mean? It's kind of profound. The drive for destruction and chaos as a means of enjoyment for the villain can lead to self-discovery and even growth. Okay, let's say you're not looking for all that. Maybe you just want a bad guy who really loves being a bad guy, who doesn't change or grow or get his ass kicked multiple times. Enter Sukuna. The literal king of this archetype. He is destruction incarnate, one who cares not for who or what he crushes under his feet, an all-powerful jujutsu genius who laughs at the suffering of others, sneers at the very idea of chaos brought about by his abilities. Sukuna truly is the devil in flesh, and his introduction tells you everything you need to know about him. But what is the cause of this inclination? Is it simply Sukuna is Satan's spawn, born to wreak havoc? Maybe. Sukuna himself seems to think so. Truthfully, within the confines of Jujutsu Kaisen, it is as simple as a matter of perspective. Sukuna sees the world in black and white, the weak and the strong. He is not moved by matters of the heart or morality. He finds those concepts binding, or at least has it been proven otherwise. They hinder true freedom, and to be tied to them is to live a life void of enjoyment. Sukuna seeks a stage that allows him to enjoy all that his flesh seeks to obtain whenever the mood strikes him. Jujutsu provides that stage. You can see it in the way he marvels at the concept of Jujutsu itself, in his fascination with what others can do, and how much entertainment they can provide him. The carnage is secondary, merely the consequence of him expressing pure freedom. What makes characters like this compelling is how they tap into something we quietly recognize in ourselves, a desire to be unrestrained. Sukuna's overwhelming presence resonates because deep down, many of us want to impose our will on the world instead of being shaped by it. But that desire, unchecked, is exactly what makes him a villain. Because is it true freedom if you're the only one allowed to be free? Is it just if your freedom takes freedom away from others? That's where Yuji comes in, the foil to the path of unchecked carnage and the embodiment of what a life led by the happiness of others can bring. One who can endure the pain to bring a smile tomorrow is who Yuji is, and it's what makes their dynamic work. Yuji has to find meaning in taking a life or cursing someone like Sukuna as a means of protecting the lives of others. Sukuna was only able to understand Yuji's worldview by losing in the only language he understood, which was combat. Their ideologies may appear simple, and I think it plays a role in why so many people who consume Jujutsu Kaisen walk away with their own interpretation on who was right in the end. The answer is Yuji, but whatever. The Justice Antagonist, a savior in disguise, one who genuinely believes their actions serve a greater good. They see themselves as the only one capable of guiding everyone beneath them, saving the world from its horrors, while enacting horrors of their own to reach that vision. This is the area where we're going to start seeing the divide between villain and antagonist, with the philosophy of a savior for society or humanity or what have you. How they go about it and the truth of their intent will inform whether we can categorize categorize them as villainous or simply antagonistic. It's also an archetype that has grown increasingly popular in modern media, often framed as the villain who is right all along, because there's logic embedded in their worldview, and the question becomes whether the audience finds that logic compelling. But more often than not, that reasoning is built on half-truths and hypocrisy. Take Madara, or Sasuke, or pretty much all the major villains in Naruto, convinced they were uniquely capable of saving the ninja world from itself, amassing power until they stood alone as the strongest shinobi alive, then attempting to impose their ideal utopia through absolute control. But they were shaped by pain, pun intended, unable to move beyond their suffering to meet others halfway. Unlike Naruto, who believed that genuine peace required connection, not domination. Madara I would categorize as villainous because of his lack of care for the lives he affects, perfectly fine with killing waves of ninja to achieve his goal, versus Sasuke, who is more antagonistic, being at odds with Naruto's worldview and being an obstacle for him to overcome, but not in a way that hinges on dubious action. Except for the 5 Kage Summit, but don't worry about that. One of my favorite examples of antagonistic savior comes from Kagurabachi with Sumora, a war-scarred enchanted sword wielder haunted by the atrocities he witnessed. Unable to bear the burden of his actions, he sees an opportunity offered by the Hishaku: destroy every sword bearer and eliminate the enchanted blades entirely. On paper, the logic makes sense. Remove the weapons, prevent further catastrophe. But in doing so, he attempts to murder his friends, serves a faction that plans to betray him, and ultimately inflicts more pain on those he hoped to protect, all of which weigh on him heavily. And if given another option, he would have taken it. That's the flawed nature of the justice antag. So much must be sacrificed for the illusion of setting things right, when the real answer lies in reaching the goal together. Which is why so many of these savior archetypes eventually cross over, like Sumora. After Chihiro's relentless dedication to doing the right thing and making Sumora see another path, he was able to make him open his eyes to the truth, figuratively and literally, not through conquest, but through self-realization and humility. And then Akamura came in with this same concept, but on steroids, but we won't get into that. Next villain, please. The Judgement Antagonist is a vengeful spirit, one who seeks to strike back at those who have wronged them by any means necessary. Blinded by hatred for a person or for society itself, they will raise a roaring fire to snuff out their idea of evil until nothing is left. This is a very famous archetype. There's a laundry list of vengeful baddies out there. It's probably because revenge narratives are relatively easy to write. Every person alive can recall a moment where they felt betrayed, wronged, or long for some kind of get back. That shared experience makes it easier for an audience to relate to these characters. Revenge, after all, is also a matter of perspective. Whether someone is viewed as heroic or villainous often depends entirely on who's telling the story. I'll circle back on that point in a bit, but since we're talking specifically about villains, let's look at some run-of-the-mill revenge antagonists. Take Kugo Genjo, a scorned ex-substitute Soul Reaper who manipulates Ichigo to regain his power and take revenge on the Soul Society. He plots and schemes for years, caring little for the damage he causes Ichigo's life, all to fulfill his proclaimed reckoning. Then there's Kurozumi Orochi, a cunning little hydra who spent his life in the shadows of his enemies until it was finally time for his plan to unfold. By partnering with Kaido, Orochi takes over the once beautiful land of Wano and turns it into a hellish wasteland as punishment for how his clan was treated, over the crimes committed by an ancestor long before him. And finally, you have Shigaraki, a product of a broken world that props up the so-called best and strongest in a superhero society while neglecting, discarding, and hiding away those deemed undesirable. Shigaraki represents the anger and resentment this world creates when prejudice is justified and good versus evil becomes a matter of public opinion. He wants to destroy everything and everyone until that world is nothing but ash, then rebuild it into something where he and his loved ones can live freely without being labeled villains. This is where that nuance I mentioned earlier comes into play, because what truly separates someone like Shigaraki or even Chihiro from other characters who start crusades against those who have wronged them? Chihiro is honestly lucky that his enemies are human traffickers, because all that killing would absolutely classify him as a serial murderer, something he himself acknowledges. But things are rarely that simple. Take Kyoko Mijiro, whose family was killed due to the actions of a vampire. She dedicates her life to ridding the world of vampires because of of the danger they pose. And she isn't technically wrong. Plenty of lives have been ruined by the selfish actions of vampires looking to feed. Vampires, much like humans, are complicated and capable of great harm, and some actively go out of their way to inflict it. Kyoko may have hurt others and herself, but it was never her intent, and she openly acknowledges how her quest has consumed her. She's another character I wouldn't necessarily consider villainous, and from a different perspective, she could have even been seen as heroic. Call of the Night is peak, by the way. You should read it, and if you think otherwise, fuck you. Another example is Scar. Scar is many things: vengeful, angry, and deeply hurt. A man who has had his home, his family, his body, and his people ripped away from him. The only things he had left were his faith and his lust for revenge. He's Ishvalan, a race and religion wiped out by the state alchemists for reasons so cartoonishly evil they would never happen in real life today. Ishvalans are said to detest alchemy, so much that they would cut off members of their own group, branding them with marks of shame that leave them permanently shunned. But with the Ishvalans nearly eradicated, the only one left to carry on their legacy is someone their own culture would have rejected. Scar now hunts the alchemists who destroyed his people, dispatching them with the very same weapon used to annihilate the Ishvalans: alchemy itself. Scar has every reason to hate the state alchemists and the system that led to his people's death. That system was deeply corrupt, controlled by a shadowy hand, and ultimately required multiple people working together to uncover the truth. What began as a clear-cut antagonist slowly revealed itself to be someone walking the correct path all along. Perspective, ladies and gentlemen, must always be considered when writing a story. Every character you create believes in something, wants something, or is trying to achieve something. You have to consider the different angles to which those motivations can be viewed. But what happens when an antagonist can't be viewed through any moral lens? What about an antagonist who is unknowable? Is evil born from? Please, take your time. Consider. I, for one, don't know. I mean, does anyone really know? There are countless theories, belief systems, studies, but does anyone actually know? Is the concept of evil real? Well, it is to us anyway, as we humans perceive it so, just as we perceive heroism. If you ask me, I think it's born from desire. Like I said earlier, all characters and people are a complicated mess of desire. That desire can take many shapes, and how we react to those desires, I believe, is what can birth heroic and villainous action. It even transcends what your initial intent was. Desires are born, then acted upon, but they can also be manipulated, twisted off course. The villains we've discussed so far are all driven by a desire, and that desire fuels their rampage. But what if we have an antagonist that isn't driven by its own desire, but simply feeds on the desires of others? Here, I welcome you to Night City. absolutely adore the universe of Cyberpunk. I have multiple playthroughs and hundreds of hours dedicated to Cyberpunk 2077. I have driven the streets of Night City. I've seen the city night shine from the Badlands. I've sent a friend into orbit as I've come to terms with her betrayal. I've spoke with an all-powerful AI beyond the Black Wall, fought off ninja assassins, and took down the strongest cyborg in town. From street kid to corpo, I've explored this game inside and out. No matter how many times I play it, I always come back. I love Night City, but I know what she is. The real antagonist of the Cyberpunk universe, and more pointedly, for 2077 and Edge Runners. The old saying goes, the house always wins. But here the house is an entire futuristic metropolis built on greed, ambition, and exploitation. A machine that consumes people and spits out their remains. Night City, the central setting of the Cyberpunk franchise, is a techno city in California. Like the rain-soaked streets of Blade Runner or the dystopian megacity in Akira, Night City is the culmination of humanity's ambition. A place where anyone can rise only to be swallowed whole. A beautiful skyline with the moniker the City of Dreams, while masking a predatory system. It is the representation of wealth disparity, corporate greed, surveillance states, organized and unorganized crime. The world antagonist presents a dilemma where there isn't an escape, nothing to understand or reason with, something you truly can't defeat, only survive if you can even manage that. Here, everything is for sale, down to your last body part, and our worst impulses are rewarded, where basic necessities are reserved for the super wealthy, where gunfights and mass murders are commonplace, a reality not much different from the one we know today. With a pitch like that, you wonder why anyone would ever come here or stay. But Night City is the worst kind of world antagonist. It is an enemy that shines bright and hums a song of promise, the promise of fulfilling your desires. For V, the protagonist of Cyberpunk 2077, it offered a chance to make something of their life with their best friend, one job after another, on their way to fame and putting their names in the history books. But that dream turned into a fight for their life against the bioconsciousness known as Johnny Silverhand, another lost soul who fought for a life with meaning in this city, only to be turned into a soulless capsule for mass production. For David Martinez, it was a way out from all the pain and suffering he's endured. With his mother gone, the only person who looked out for him and gave everything she had to give him a good life, he felt he had no other option than to turn to a life of crime. The life of a street kid, using technology that gave him an edge, but was also a ticking time bomb to his body and mind. Chasing freedom in this hellhole that presses down on the necks of the disenfranchised, while rewarding the wealthy. David was just a kid led astray, and it cost him everything, even his life. V's journey for survival led him down many paths depending on the choices of the player, and David's journey was one of a lost child trying to find purpose. But the central aspect of these tales together is just how rigged the game was from the start. Night City promises freedom, status, transcendence, just one more job, one more score, one more chance to be legendary. But the legends in Night City don't survive. They burn bright, then disappear, leaving the city glittering and indifferent. Ambition. It's a hell of a thing. It will drive you to places you never thought possible and keep your feet moving when you felt like giving up. Chasing your dreams, whatever they are, will make you believe you can overcome the demons that exist inside you once you've attained it. That achieving it will cause this transformation to become the kind of person you've always dreamed of being. It will have you believing that you are the protagonist of this tale. David and V are more than just another body on the cold streets of Corpo District. They are me. They are us. Humans caught in the giant trap of life, of Night City, the manifestation of human greed. A game that none of us were meant to win, but one we play to escape ourselves. Night City is the perfect antagonist in my eyes because it isn't a creature lurking in the dark. It's not a devil hell-bent on conquest. It's not a predator preaching words of righteousness. It is a monument to the twisted desires of humanity that feeds on our dreams. A beautiful thing from afar, but the moment you get close, it's already too late. To me, Night City is terrifying, but it holds a truth that took me a long time to see. I guess like the others, I should say thank you, Night City, for opening my eyes. I know what I have to do now.
I wonder what that might be.
Oh. It's you. But you're not really her, are you?
No, but this form was chosen because we believed it would make speaking with you easier. You seem to have begun trusting that therapist you've been speaking to. We hoped we could guide you without resistance. but that was naive, considering how much control you've taken.
So, I'm, asleep right now?
Correct. Listen, when you began this experiment, we allowed it against our better judgment, but as the failsafes triggered, you pushed past them. You're no longer helping him. You're stealing his life, and it's time to give it back, protagonist.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Thought I had more time.
You've been given enough. It's been 2 years. And what have you done in that? Chased applause? Likes? Notoriety? Superficial relationships? You've strayed from the objective a long time ago. The moment all of that attention went to your head.
Yeah, alright. I don't need the lecture.
Yes, I believe you do. 2 years of puffing your chest to anyone who would see, posturing as someone you aren't, and drowning in your own self-indulgence when your only purpose was to find a way to heal. Trying to shoulder all of that burden on your own for longer than you needed to was not part of the deal.
I know this is confusing. I'm sorry I didn't come clean sooner. Like I said, I thought I had more time, but it looks like I've run out. She is wrong about one thing. I wasn't all alone. Thank you for...
Don't insult me. Do you really think I wasn't aware of them too?
Spoke too soon. Are you finished?
Just about. Are you ready?
Just about. Let me talk to him first.
I don't think that's a good idea. We've already...
Please. Please just let me. I need to tell him the truth. I'm begging you.
So be it.
Hello, friend. I'm sorry we have to talk under these pretenses. I had hoped to do this a different way, but I guess time got away from me. No, that's not true. I didn't come clean sooner because I was afraid that I let you down, afraid of not being honest with myself. I figured focusing on the channel and working on us to be a better version of me would fix the problem I was faced with. I was afraid of seeking the truth, that what I had done was out of line and that I had overstepped, that I had made a mistake, and I was too prideful to come to terms with it. I was afraid, and I was wrong. I thought you needed success. So much so I started to make things just to keep up, not making things that spoke to our spirit. I thought I could fix everything if I had got as many views, as many praise, as much recognition as possible, but it only made things worse. I lost sight of my purpose, and instead of being the hero you needed, I became your villain. You didn't need high numbers, conditional love from usernames, or a sense of purpose. You needed words you've been wanting to hear since your mother passed. You don't need to be or do anything to be enough. You already are, and you always have been. I guess this is the end. Mind doing me a favor? Keep an eye on him, and thank you.